So I'm recording this podcast on Sunday, March the 17th, 2024. It's St. Patrick's Day, St. Patty's Day. I used to joke that this was like my day. I haven't told that joke now in several years. No, I'm not really a saint. But I'm just kind of telling you this to let you know exactly how much time has actually gone by, since this particular story broke. It's been about a week. And it was approximately about a week ago on Twitter or X if you're an idiot, or maybe I should say that the other way around. I mean, on X or on Twitter if you're a stubborn idiot like myself, because I will never call it that. Sorry, Daddy Elon, I am never calling it that. You can put the alpha male thing in my, in all of my Twitter profiles, all that you want. It's a funny joke. I like it. It's great. It's great bait. For people that are insecure about their own masculinity. But I'm never calling it X. Okay, like, sorry, it's just never going to happen. But in any event, I'm kind of kind of gotten off track here. So in any event, about a week ago, there was this weird little firestorm that just kind of erupted. It seems like it just kind of came out of nowhere, but it kind of came by way of a Twitter user by the name of Samira Khan. And so Samira Khan, apparently she's a former beauty queen. Um, there's a lot of talk about whether or not she is, beyond that, much of anything in terms of like anything that she says she is. But she does seem to move right now in these red pill circles, and honestly, I kind of fucking despise the vast majority of those clowns. And this is doesn't really fall into any other category than that. I haven't really found somebody, in the person of this Samira Khan. I haven't really found anybody there that seems to be respect worthy. But she kind of came out of nowhere and she targeted this other social media influencer by the name of Hannah Barron. And so, to give you a sense of the background, I mean, so Samira Khan, I've talked a little bit about her. Hannah Barron is a kind of like a sports and fitness kind of outdoors kind of TikTok influencer. Apparently, she's really big into hunting and fishing and all of that stuff. She's people have described her as a tomboy. I don't know if I would go so far as to say that, but that was how Samira Khan chose to describe her. And so she kind of plucked out one of her TikTok videos and posted on Twitter and said that, oh, this Southern accent, that this Alabama accent that Hannah Barrett has, this accent should be illegal. Women should be barred from doing manual labor. Uh, American women are literally men and they're not feminine and blah, 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 blah. I'm paraphrasing. If you want to go find these tweets, they're not actually all that hard to find. They are out there. But anyhow, that was what she had to say. And then another one of these kind of would-be red pill influencers. This guy's basically kind of like a Wish.com Andrew Tate. But this guy going by the name of Sad came out and seconded that. He co-signed that. He said that if you're attracted to tomboys, then you're gay. Which only turned out that much more beautifully when it turned out that the internet as a whole, definitely, they did not concur. Hannah Barron gained like this entire new following overnight, based on all kinds of people, men and women that took one look at her and said, you know what, she is adorable. And you know what, she is kind of a badass. Much more of a badass than this sad guy could ever really legitimately try to claim himself to be. And he does seem like he claims himself to be. If you actually were to look at the lead tweet, the pinned tweet on his account, it's like this really weird thing where he's trying to challenge a guy to a fight under the Texas Penal Code, which to me strikes me as a little bit weird because, I mean, why would the Texas Penal Code contain rules for a fight? I mean, and like, what's this guy's background at this point? I mean, has this guy been has this guy been inside a little bit? Been jailhouse rocked a little bit? I gotta say that he definitely looks like he could be the type. I mean, I imagine that prisons in Texas are probably an awful lot nicer than prisons in, say, Romania. But you know what? I digress. I digress. It's not the point that I'm here to make. There was a weird little kind of just unprovoked, line of attack where this, sweet, beautiful, very capable Alabama girl just suddenly found herself in the crosshairs of all of these red pill jackoffs who would probably either describe themselves as alpha males, describe themselves as alphas, or in the case of Samira Khan, would probably aspire to be an alpha. And I gotta say, it's one of these things that it leads me back to the conclusion that these people have absolutely no idea what the fuck they're talking about. Now, before I go too deep into that, I mean, don't get me twisted. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like alpha males don't exist. I have heard that said by some people who, honestly, I just kind of think, for the sake of their own mental well being, probably need to believe that. There is such a thing as an alpha male. But I'm going to raise a question for you. I'm going to kind of pose a question to you. And anybody who wants to share their answer can feel free to do so right here in the comments section. But what exactly is an alpha male in the first goddamn place? I think that we've all heard the caricature of what an alpha male is. And I think that maybe at times of human history that would be true. I mean, just kind of give a little bit of background. This idea of an alpha male actually kind of came out of studies into like into wolf colonies. Basically, every wolf pack has an alpha, and a beta. It has wolves that are leaders and wolves that are subordinate. And that was kind of where the whole thing started to originate. And then at a certain point, people started to study, simian culture, and they started to raise the question. It's like, well, we see some of that stuff here too, and so can you apply that to human civilization? And people kind of took that ball and ran with it. And I think there's nothing unreasonable about that. But I think that once you start to apply that to human civilization, now you have to start to look at, you know, what the characteristics of an alpha human are. And you have to ask yourself, do we exist in the same kind of, you know, social structure as a wolf does? No, absolutely. We don't. We don't exist in the same kind of social structure that a simian, that like orangutan or a gorilla lives in. We live in, for lack of any better way to describe it, a civilization. And so the role of the alpha, amongst, say, a wolf pack, one of the things that they do is they lead the hunt. They are predators. And I think that there are predatory instincts, that every human has. But a modern human is not really a predator. That's kind of this vestigial trait that's left over, from generations and generations, literally eons ago, back before we even became like a hunter-gatherer society. But now we're well beyond the hunter-gatherer society. Alpha males, we don't really go out and hunt very much, when we want meat, and then we get it from a farm, for the most part. There are people who say that, no, meat comes from the store. Those people are idiots. They do exist, and they're hilarious. But we don't hunt for our meat anymore. We don't really hunt for, we don't gather food per se anymore, at least not on a mass basis, because we have agriculture, because we have, ranching of livestock, because we have great big mass farms where we can grow enough food for literally everybody in our civilization. Hunting is kind of this thing that has actually become just more of a recreational thing than a necessity. So with that in mind, given that we don't really need to have great big hunting packs and go out and wander the and wander the wilderness and go out and bring back a bunch of buffalo or anything like that, given that we don't really need to do that anymore. Well, if there's going to be such a thing in the modern context as an alpha male, well, then that kind of has to change along with the way that our society has changed. And I would suggest that the advent of agricultural surplus has kind of pointed us into the direction of what an alpha actually is in the modern context, and that is, for the most part, an alpha is a builder. Not just necessarily a builder, but somebody who leads in the building. So how does that relate to this whole thing with Hannah Barron and Samira Khan? Well, the video to which Samira Khan took objection, the one that rose her ire, was actually one about Hannah Barron giving an update on a house that she was building. Her father and her brother and some other men have been helping her build her own house. And she's got the money to do it because apparently her net worth, because of her social media influencing, value, is quite significant. And so now she's building her own house. So, right then and there, I think that kind of points you in that particular direction. Hannah Barron is an alpha. And Samira Khan, she doesn't really aspire even to be an alpha herself. She just aspires to be with one. And from the sounds of it, there aren't really, there really don't seem to be that many that are lining up for the job. And I think that there's a simple reason for that, and that's because she is just not the kind of woman, that an alpha male would actually want if he values himself in terms of being an alpha male. I think that if an alpha male values that in himself and is not insecure, well, what does he want in a partner? I think that he wants an equal partner, somebody that will build with him. Kind of makes me think of something that I saw a really long time ago on the website Plenty of Fish. And I was kind of browsing profiles, and I found this one. It was like this very pretty blonde girl, but she said right in there, right in her description, said that, if you don't have a house of a certain size and 2 cars paid for and $1 million in the bank, don't bother contacting me because I'm not interested in dating you. And that, to me, strikes me as a very Samira Khan kind of attitude. The kind of woman that wants to come along. She wants to just go ahead. She wants to move into the penthouse suite. She doesn't want to be there when you're out there trying to build the house, buy the cars, and put that $1 million in the bank. She's not interested in any of that. She will not be there with you. She won't be there for the struggle. She doesn't really want to participate in the race. She wants to hang out at the finish line and just adorn the winner, which is something that I know that I've heard somebody say. Actually, I think maybe I've heard it in some of these, Tomasi Rallo, whatever the guy's name is. He's an idiot. But it's something that he says about all women. I don't think that's true of all women, but I kind of seen it for myself. There are definitely women for whom that exists. Hannah Barron is not that kind of woman. She's the kind that will actually go out and participate in that race. And if she's not in that race with you, she's going to be on that race running it for herself. Exactly everything that the modern feminist says that they want to be, embodied in a woman who I honestly think probably does not necessarily, subscribe to a lot of, let's just say, the peripheral values that are associated with the, let's just say the third wave radical feminist. And to me, that's the biggest reason why somebody like Samira Khan, despite the size of her social media following, it is quite large. She's been associated with organizations like Russia Today in the past. So you kind of get the sense that she's kind of coming out of like a bit of a chuddish corner of the internet, for lack of any better phrase. I don't know if I've ever heard anybody describe something as chud-ish before, but I mean, that's kind of what we're dealing with here. But regardless of the size of her following, Samira Khan could not hold a candle to Hannah Barron. And I think that if anything about Hannah Barron really bothers her, I think maybe that should be it. And if that's the case, then Samira Khan should not be nearly so bothered by Hannah Barron as she should be by herself.